Hey, welcome back, TechLead here. Now, first of all, I want to say I did not really want to make this video about anti-diversity because I believe that the intentions behind it are good. However, I feel that we have gone too far about how tech has become hostile to certain types of people.
Ex-Google engineer exposes diversity over meritocracy and tech. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, and today on reclaimthenet.org, we're going to talk about something very near and dear to me, that is the discrimination in big tech, in these corporations, in the progressive agenda. Okay, we're going to talk about the progressive agenda and how it excludes white people in favor of literally anybody else, except in some cases, Asian men and women. Because apparently, diversity to these leftists, to these progressive types of individuals, basically means, not white, not Asian. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about how I think it's wrong, how I think it's backwards, and how all of these diversity initiatives are actually discriminatory. So let's see here. Headline: Ex-Google engineer raises alarm on diversity over meritocracy in tech. Patrick Hsu uncovers some of the questionable practices of tech giants. Now what I want to do is go through the video, see what he has to say, and kind of elaborate on why he's saying it, what I think is right, what I think is wrong, and some of the screenshots that he's leaked, that he's showing, and that he's exposing, so that we can finally call out these companies once and for all. Now, he's trashing diversity in this video, and for good reason, and I think we're going to see why when we start to go through it.
There's a lot more discrimination in this field than I had thought, and it's really disturbing to me. And I know some people will say, well, I'm one of the privileged people. When you're privileged, then equality feels like oppression. No, this isn't really about me anymore. This is about future generations. My son, for example, I would like him to get into tech as well. And I want to preface this by saying I support everybody getting into tech. I think that we can all learn the skill, but it should be a meritocracy.
So, of course, he talks about meritocracy. He talks about the outright discrimination. Now, the reason that I say that a lot of times it seems like to these progressive leftists living in their ivory towers, diversity seems to mean, everything but white, and in many cases, everything but Asian. I think it's completely wrong. I think everyone should have equal opportunity. That's not what we have. One example: it's well known that universities have discriminated against certain students because of their background. It's well known that to get into a good university, the bar is much higher for Asian students, for example, and they just don't let as many in. Here from City Journal, it says, fewer Asians need apply. And it basically talks about how Asian students are being discriminated against and expected to be held to a higher standard. Now, this is perfectly illustrated in the fact that there was once an Indian man. An Indian man, you can see the CNN news story here. There was once an Indian man who couldn't get into medical school because his scores just weren't high enough. So he did an experiment. He changed his appearance to appear black. He was pretending to be black. And something amazing happened when he did this. He was able to get into college. He was accepted. So this proves the only thing that changed, it wasn't his academic background. It wasn't who he was. It wasn't anything. Everything was the same, except in one, he pretended to be black, and in real life, he was Indian. And he was only able to get accepted when he pretended to be black. That means these universities are, 1, discriminating on the basis of ethnicity, 2, holding different groups of people to different standards, which is discriminatory, and 3, lying about it.
So somebody sent me the screenshot for an Oracle summer internship that lists a bunch of eligibility requirements like a GPA, computer science degree, and then it says explicitly that you must be African American, Latino, Native American, and or a woman. And that just seems pretty racist and sexist to me.
Now, I have to agree with this guy right here. Let's take a closer look at this Oracle internship thing. And you tell me how this doesn't violate the Civil Rights Act and everything else. Because the world we live in is so backwards. It's so aggressive that stuff like this, which should be seen as discriminatory, is not. Dear colleagues, we are seeking your assistance to encourage your eligible students to apply. We have 0 applicants from your institution. The Oracle Developers Scholars Program is a 2020 summer internship program that's paid. Okay, so a really cool deal. You get paid, You learn a code, whatever it is. So it's going to be held in California, a progressive state, summer housing, transportation costs included, and a $10,000 scholarship consideration. Okay, but in order to apply, you can only be African American, Latino, Native American, or women. So isn't that amazing? Doesn't that amaze you? Did you notice that? So you have to be a minority to apply. They will not accept anybody else. Notice, no Asians are listed here, even though Asians are a minority in the United States. And if you're a woman, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter if you're white. It doesn't matter if you're Asian. All women will get to go. So no white men, no Asian women, and only African Americans, Latinos, and Native Americans. Is that not discriminatory? You're not allowed by law to discriminate on the basis of skin color. So why are they doing it? You're not allowed by law to discriminate on the basis of gender. And yet they're doing it. I agree with the ex-Google employee. This is actually discriminatory.
Now, regardless of moralities, if you were to take a look at the Civil Rights Code, Section 703, it says, "It shall be unlawful employment practice for any employer to fail or refuse to hire any individual because of such individual's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. No internships, no full-time jobs," because I believe that is illegal, by the way. And, I have this suspicion that perhaps that these programs, these diversity programs, are thinly veiled internships just to skirt around the law of employment.
So that's one of the things. Again, a lot of this should be illegal, but somehow it's not. And it is so wrong. It is so absolutely wrong. Let's take another look, okay? We're going to look at iOS developer Premier Solution. Here's another thing where they're going to hire people, okay? We are looking to hire a talented iOS developer to design and maintain the next generation of iOS applications. Blah, 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 right? Okay, so key skills, proven experience as an app developer, proficient in Swift, Cocoa Touch, blah, blah, blah. Okay, master's degree. Don't you just love these qualifications? Really high bar, not impossible. Indians only apply. Well, I guess even if I had all of these qualifications, I couldn't be hired. That's not discriminatory at all. That doesn't exclude so many people in the world. This is supposed to be illegal, but they get away with it. It's sickening.
Someone else replies, "Please find more of these. I would like to post them to my friends and colleagues so they can apply." And they justify this by saying that, well, it's illegal because up until now, institutions were discriminating on gender ethnicity, and they wanted to change that. So now it's essentially reverse discrimination. And, that was not what this movement I thought was going to be about.
That's exactly what the movement is about. And that's what it's always been about. It's about excluding white people in many of their own countries and places that they built with their own hands in order to boost everyone that isn't them. And this also happens to be anti-male as well, because it's always more women in tech, more women in this. You never see more women construction workers. You never see more women garbage women, no garbage men women. None of the dangerous or hard jobs. The progressives never, ever, ever cry for more equality in hard jobs. No. They want the cushy, air-conditioned office job that's safe, and they want to take it away from a man. Because that's what equality has become. It's become where everyone is equal, but some groups are more equal than others, right? So if you're a woman, you're more equal than a man. If you're a minority woman, you're more equal than a woman. And, it kind of goes on. It's called the progressive stack. You stack up all these labels, and whoever's the most oppressed wins. It's the oppression Olympics. Now, I want to show you another example of what I'm talking about and what this man's talking about. Black Panther proves yet again that diversity sells in Hollywood. Now, here's what gets me when people say something is diverse. Black Panther's a really good example. People said this film was diverse and that it was amazing. Let's look at the cast of Black Panther, and since they said it's diverse, I guess we're going to see white people, we're going to see some Asians, we're going to see some, Indians, we're going to see people from all over the world, because that's diverse, right? Let's take a look at the cast. So apparently, here's the picture of Black Panther. I'm not seeing any Asians, I'm not seeing any Indians, I don't see any Native Americans, I don't see very much representation in other groups, I don't see any Mexicans, I don't see a lot of diversity. But apparently Black Panther was diverse. I was taught, and a lot of other people were taught, you mean brainwashed? With the idea that diversity means everybody. But apparently to be diverse, all you have to do is not have a lot of white people, I guess. Is that what diversity is now? That's not diversity. That's my point. It's not diversity. It's not diversity if you have an entire group of the same people. Just because they're minority, that doesn't mean they're diverse. Progressives are insane.
That was about diversity, equality, and creating a better world for all of us, me and my children included, not at our expense. Well, let's imagine someone has a white male son and then they adopt a black daughter. And they're raising these two kids at the same time in parallel. These kids are not going to have equal opportunities, and it's going to be strange. The white male son will be excluded from virtually every coding curriculum, boot camp, internship, job fair, training program, events, conferences, parties, everything. This white male son will be excluded.
Okay, so this was the funniest thing to me, man. Imagine he's white. It's another thing I've noticed about these progressive types. Whenever they portray, like in a movie or media, and Netflix is a good example, whenever they portray mixed race couples, it's almost always a white woman and then, a random minority. In fact, I think there's a lack of representation of minority women and white men. You would think that it would be equal, but somehow it's not. It really makes you wonder.
There's virtually no program out there for any other type of person. What about the underprivileged, poor, white and Asian males, the Canadians, the Indonesians, Philippines, Brazilians, Italians? Not to mention, in this day and age where identity is so fluid, you may have many women self-identifying as males, and then they would automatically disqualify themselves from such programs.
So this guy is slipping into slippery territory, my friend. He brings up the simple fact that in this day and age, progressive ideology also pushes the idea that anybody can identify as anything. Therefore, if I identify as a female, then all of a sudden I qualify for these things. But if I identify as a male, I no longer qualify for these things. It really makes you wonder. It's loop-de-doop-de progressive lack of logic, as it were. They're insane. And there's a lot of people out there who get mad when you criticize the left and you criticize these progressives. But that's the reality. If it takes an ex-Google employee to expose this, then that's how it has to be.
Is that the gender gap begins far before people even get into these companies, before they're applying to the jobs. Even in high school, only 27% of all students taking the computer science exam were females. And then by the time they get to college, only 18% of computer science degrees go to women.
Now this is because women, for the most part, don't care about STEM fields, don't care about these kinds of jobs. They choose not to. Nothing to do. So this guy's not completely red-pilled, but he's close enough, right? I'm just pointing that out. So this is pretty much the video. He talks about women and the STEM gap, and I want to point out that, again, it's because of women's individual choices. They tend not to care about STEM. And not all women, of course. Some women are engineers. Some women are mathematicians. Some women are into coding. It happens. It's just not as common. And not because there's any sort of systemic push. In fact, women are favored, as we've seen, for these programs. But there you have it, folks. The toxicity of diversity, the dangers of diversity from a Google employee who had to deal with diversity. And maybe people will take his opinion more seriously because he is not white. That is a shame, I think. I think it doesn't matter who you are or what your skin color is. Your opinion should be valued on the basis of your arguments and your logic. But maybe, just maybe, the progressive left isn't ready for logic, facts, reason, or reality. But we can only speak the truth. We can only spread the truth. We can only tell the truth. That's all we can do. And hopefully someday they'll wake up from the progressive bubbles and realize that at the end of the day, they were the ones pushing segregation, because that's essentially what they're doing. A lot of these internship requirements look like segregation. Because at the end of the day, what is the difference between this and this? Because as far as I can tell, they are exactly the same. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about this story? What do you think about Patrick Shu? Do you think he has a good point? Do you think he's wrong? Be sure to let me know. Now, as always, if you enjoy the videos I make, consider joining me on Patreon or Subscribestar. If you do decide to join, you will get access to a private Discord server. That's a guaranteed bonus. You can currently donate through DonorBox, Bitcoin and other crypto, and sharing the video is vastly appreciated. Like I said, people are only going to talk about this if more people are made aware of the issue. I think it's completely wrong that so many of us are going to be excluded for many positions in life because we're not the right gender, because we're not the right ethnicity, and this whole diversity thing, it's wrong. There should be no diversity initiatives. There should be no affirmative action. It should all be meritocracy because that's what's fair. As long as everyone has an equal opportunity, it means that people will get these jobs based on their merits. Society has a long way to go. As always, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.